Hello everyone. Today we're going to present our work entitled The Bilingual Brain Unveiled, a fictional journey through second language acquisition. Our work corresponds to the first workshop of the psycholinguistics course, and the participants in the group are Erika Pardo, Laura Vera, and Lisa Chaver.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our presentation titled The Bilingual Brain Unveiled, a fictional journey through second language acquisition. Okay, in this moment, and let me introduce you to Leila Navarro. She's 26 years old and she's artist from Cusco, Peru, and plays where Spanish and Quechua traditions blend beautifully. And although she's had basic English classes in school, her real motivation to learn English came from her passion for international art and media. Leila's native language is Spanish with Quechua influence, and her target language is English. She's currently enrolled in an online English course that uses AI feedback, speech recognition, and even virtual reality to simulate cultural experiences. For Layla, learning English isn't just about grammar. It's a way to connect with global artists, explore new perspectives, and express her creativity across cultures.
Well, let's talk about how Leila learns vocabulary. She learns vocabulary mainly throughout context, watching movies, listening to music or podcasts, and reading art content. When she finds a new word, she checks the dictionary, studies how is that word used in different contexts and relates it to Spanish. Also, her online course gives her instant feedback on her pronunciation and use of language. She practiced with a friend from her English class her speaking skills as well. So that helped her to build her confidence and also to implement or to use that new vocabulary that she's learning. Which parts of the brain are active when she's learning that new vocabulary? Well, prefrontal cortex that keeps her focused and organized, hippocampus that stores the words in the long-term memory, broadcast area that helps her to speak and write, Wernicke's area that supports her understanding of the different meanings of the words, the medial temporal lobe that links the new words with the new ones, and finally the cerebellum that makes language use more automatic, more natural throughout practice. Well, some of the support strategies to improve are categorization and word mapping, organize the vocabulary by themes, um, help her to understand the context in which she can use that vocabulary. Interactive practice, which she is already doing with simple dialogues or role plays, and also auditory reinforcements like listening to podcasts or songs to sharper pronunciation and comprehension, um, something that she's also already doing.
Okay, now we are going to describe the writing process of Leila. During the writing process of Leila, she has carried out many exercises in her English course, including activities according to her level, beginners, like transcribing text, filling in the gaps, or writing scripts for different scenarios. As well, we know language production, including writing, involves multiple brain regions. In this case, we are going to mention three, as you can see in the image. So, the angular gyrus is often associated with semantic processing and integrating meaning, which helps Leila to connect ideas and understand the context while writing in L2. The visual cortex is involved in processing visual and orthographic information, essential for recognizing and producing writing symbols, letters, and words. Ultimately, working memory plays a vital role in maintaining and manipulating information during writing, particularly in constructing complex sentences or translating thoughts into writing language. In this last point, we are going to talk about the best type of activity to improve Leila's writing skills through her history. So, Leila loves contemporary art from New York. Every day she shares various online forums about this type of art in the city and shares her opinion about a specific artwork or offers other comments. Even if she has looked, sometimes in the forum she finds the email of the artist who made the artwork and writes to him, her, asking about the inspiration, the composition, the techniques, and other details about the artwork. In this way, through writing forums and emails, Leila has improved her writing skills.
Let's talk about the speaking skills of Leila. She faces some difficulties when she's speaking English because of the influence of her first language, which is Spanish and Quechua. For example, she sometimes stresses the wrong syllables when she is pronouncing some English words, which can make her sound less clear and less natural. She also struggles with sounds that we don't have in Spanish or even in Quechua, like the th sound or the sound of some difficult consonant combinations that we have in English. In order to overcome these challenges, some strategies that can help her are listening to native speakers in order to model a more natural pronunciation, practicing word stress with visualize, like color coding syllables and stuff like that, using recording and playback tools so that she can hear and correct herself um, their pronunciation. Um, like an example of an activity that she can do is a dialogue that, that could help her to um, practice describing her work or something that she is interesting. For example, like, hi, I really like your painting, and the other one say thank you. What does it represent? And she explained what does it represent and what colors she used and things like that. The brain areas that are involved in this, like speaking context, are broadcast area that helps you to plan and produce a speech, especially when you are practicing pronunciation or building a sentence. motor cortex that controls the movement of your mouth and tongue so that you can articulate words clearly, phonological loop that keeps the sounds of the words in your memory, helping you to rehearse the new vocabulary when you are listening or repeating.
Psycholinguistic challenges. In these sections, we are going to talk about the difficulties that Leila copes with learning a second language, the solutions or support that we can offer, and an emotional factor that interferes with her language acquisition process. First of all, we have difficulties. Leila has difficulties pronouncing some words, as she was born into the Quechua traditions, which include their language. In some cases, for example, she adds the accent to an English word on the word syllable. However, for Leila's pronunciation difficulties, there are many solutions. Since Leila is in the English course, she also likes to listen to podcasts and she watches English art channels. So, as a first step, she could listen and then constantly imitate the pronunciation. Another tip is that she can use visual cues, for example, bolding stress syllables, as you can see in the example. And then she can also clap out syllables using rhythm and music to reinforce stress partners. For example, table, table, or record. Okay. Moreover, Leila can use IPA, International Phonetic Alphabet, to decode pronunciation, for example, of minimal pairs, like record versus record, and highlight stress difference. Now we will move on to the emotional factor that interferes with Leila's language acquisition process. When Leila has to speak, she is always filled with anxiety, fear, and nervousness. She thinks that other participants of the English course will laugh at her because she uses her traditional accents when she speaks. It is these fears and disabling thoughts that cause Leila, when speaking English, to confuse the pronunciation of even easy English words and forget many words that she has learned. For those reasons, she prefers not to participate much.
Okay, now let's take a look inside Layla's brain as she learns English. When she's learning new vocabulary, areas like workness area and hippocampus are activated. Thus help her understand word meanings and store them in long-term memory. While writing, she used her angular guards to connect ideas and her visual cortex to process word symbols. Her working memory helps her organize thought and build sentences. And when she speaks, her broadcast area plans speech. The motor cortex helps her articulate sounds, and the phonological loops allows her to rehearse and remember new words. Each of these regions plays a unique role in Leila's journey, showing how second language learning is truly a whole brain experience. And the examples, caption examples are vocabulary acquisition since activates the awareness area and the hippocampus for meaning and memory. Writing task engage the angular gyrus and visual cortex to connect ideas and symbols. And speaking reels and broadcast area, motor cortex, and the phonological loop fluent expressions. Okay, reflecting on Layla's journeys, We learned the second language acquisition is not just a cognitive process, it's deeply emotional and personal. Psycholinguistics help us understand how different brain regions support language learning, but it also reminds us that motivation, identity, and anxiety play a huge role in how learners succeed. Okay, I think that the Layla story shows us that when learners feel connected to language thought, culture, creativity, or personal goals, and they're more like the persist and grow. So here's a question all for you. How can we design learning environments that support both the brain and the heart and to learner? And that's all for today. Thank you so much for your attention.